Hello! Today we're going to review the fundamental rules to obtain your driver's license in New Zealand. Waka Kotahi has a clear graduated licensing system with specific rules around alcohol, speed, and giveaway, so let's get prepared for you to pass that theory test on the first try. Here are the key questions for the New Zealand driver's license exam. What agency administers driver licensing in New Zealand? The New Zealand Transport Agency, Waka Kotahi. Waka Kotahi is your point of contact for all licensing, testing, and road rule enforcement in New Zealand. Let's continue. What is the minimum age to apply for a learner license in New Zealand? 16 years old. At 16 you can start your licensing journey, but the learner license comes with strict restrictions. Next question. What test must be passed to obtain a New Zealand learner license? A theory test covering road rules, signs, and safe driving knowledge. The theory test is your first step. No practical driving until you pass it. Let's move on. How many questions are in the New Zealand learner license theory test? 35 questions. 35 questions covering road rules, signs, and hazard awareness. Know the material thoroughly before you sit. Continuing. What is the passing score for the New Zealand learner license theory test? At least 32 out of 35 correct. That means you can only miss 3. There is very little margin for error. Study every topic. Next point. What restriction applies to a New Zealand learner license holder? Must be supervised at all times by a person with a full license sitting in the front passenger seat. Every trip, every time. No exceptions. Driving alone on a learner license is illegal. Let's keep going. What is the blood alcohol limit for a learner license holder in New Zealand? 0. No detectable alcohol is permitted. Not a low limit. 0. If you hold a learner license, alcohol and driving do not mix under any circumstances. Next question. What is the blood alcohol limit for drivers over 20 with a full license in New Zealand? 50 mg per 100 milliliters of blood, or 250 mcg per liter of breath. Even at the legal limit, impairment affects your driving. The safest choice is always 0 before driving. Let's continue. What is the blood alcohol limit for drivers under 20 in New Zealand? 0. Any detectable amount is an offense. Under 20 means 0 tolerance. The same rule applies whether you hold a learner, restricted, or full license. Next point. What are the 3 stages of the New Zealand graduated driver licensing system? Learner license, restricted license, and full license. Each stage has its own requirements and restrictions. You must complete each one before moving to the next. Let's move on. How long must a learner hold their learner license before applying for a restricted license? At least 6 months. 6 months of supervised driving builds the foundation you need before testing for your restricted license. Continuing. What test is required to obtain a New Zealand restricted license? A practical driving test assessing basic vehicle control and road use. The practical test is where your on-road skills are evaluated for the first time. Preparation and practice are everything. Next question. What restrictions apply to a restricted license holder in New Zealand? Cannot drive between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m., and cannot carry passengers unless accompanied by a supervisor. 2 key restrictions: nighttime and passengers. Know them and follow them every time you get behind the wheel. Let's keep going. Can a restricted license holder carry passengers in New Zealand? Only if a supervisor with a full license sits in the front passenger seat. Without that supervisor present, carrying any passenger is illegal on a restricted license. Next point. How long must a restricted license holder wait before applying for a full license? At least 18 months, or 12 months if an approved driving course is completed. Completing an approved course saves you 6 months. It also makes you a significantly safer driver. Let's continue. What is the default speed limit on open roads outside of towns in New Zealand? 100 km per hour. 100 is the maximum on open roads, not a target. Always adjust for conditions. Next question. What is the default speed limit in urban areas in New Zealand? 50 km per hour. In urban areas there are pedestrians, cyclists, and intersections everywhere. 50 is the default. Some areas are lower. Let's move on. What is the speed limit in a school zone when indicated by signs in New Zealand? 40 km per hour when the lights are flashing. The lights tell you when children are present. When they flash, 40 is the law. Continuing. What must a driver do at a giveaway sign in New Zealand? Give way to all traffic that would cross or conflict with their path. A giveaway sign means yield to everything that could create a conflict. Look carefully before proceeding. Next point, what must a driver do at a stop sign in New Zealand? Stop completely before the line and give way to all other traffic. Complete stop, every time. A rolling stop at a stop sign is a violation. Let's keep going. When turning right at an intersection in New Zealand, what must a driver give way to? Oncoming traffic and pedestrians crossing the road being entered. Turning right means crossing oncoming lanes. Give way to everything in your path. Next question. When turning left at an intersection, who must be given way to in New Zealand? Pedestrians crossing the road being entered. Even on a left turn, pedestrians have priority. Check before you complete the turn. Let's continue. What is the rule at an uncontrolled intersection in New Zealand? Give way to vehicles coming from the right. No signs, no signals. The vehicle on your right has priority. Simple rule. Critical to remember. Next point. What does a yellow traffic light mean in New Zealand? Stop if it is safe to do so. The light is about to turn red. Yellow means prepare to stop, not speed up. Only continue if stopping safely is not possible. Let's move on. What does a flashing amber traffic light mean in New Zealand? Proceed with caution, giving way to pedestrians and other vehicles. Flashing amber is not a green light. Slow down and check before you proceed. Continuing. What is the following distance rule in New Zealand? At least a 2-second gap in good conditions, and 4 seconds in wet weather. 2 seconds is the minimum in good conditions. Double it when it rains. Braking distances increase significantly on wet roads. Next question. What is the overtaking rule on a 2-lane road in New Zealand? Only overtake when it is safe, with clear visibility, and it is legal to do so on your side of the road. If you have any doubt about the gap, the visibility, or the legality, do not overtake. Let's keep going. When must headlights be used in New Zealand? From 30 minutes after sunset to 30 minutes before sunrise, and when visibility is less than 100 meters. Lights are not just for your visibility, they help others see you. Use them whenever conditions demand it. Next point. What is the rule about using a mobile phone while driving in New Zealand? Handheld mobile phone use is prohibited while driving or while stationary but not parked. Stationary at a red light still counts as driving under New Zealand law. Put the phone away completely. Let's continue. What is the New Zealand rule on seatbelts? All occupants must wear a seatbelt if one is available, and the driver is responsible for passengers under 15. The driver carries legal responsibility for younger passengers. Make sure everyone is buckled before you move. Next question. What must a driver do when approaching a level crossing with no signals? Slow down, look and listen in both directions before crossing. No signals means no automatic warning. You must take full responsibility for checking that the crossing is clear. Let's move on. What must a driver do at a railway level crossing with flashing lights and bells? Stop and remain stopped until the lights stop and it is safe to cross. Flashing lights mean a train is coming. Stop completely and wait. Never try to beat a train. Continuing. What is the rule for children under 7 in a vehicle in New Zealand? They must be secured in an approved child restraint appropriate for their age and size. The right restraint for the right age and size protects children in a crash. It is a legal requirement, not a suggestion. Next point. What is the rule for parking facing downhill next to a curb in New Zealand? Turn wheels toward the curb so the vehicle rolls into it if brakes fail. Downhill toward the curb. If the vehicle rolls, the curb stops it. A simple habit that prevents a serious hazard. Let's keep going. What is the rule for parking facing uphill next to a curb in New Zealand? Turn wheels away from the curb so the vehicle rolls into it if brakes fail. Uphill away from the curb. The same principle in reverse. Always park so the curb acts as your backup. Next question. What does a yellow no stopping line on the edge of the road mean in New Zealand? No stopping is permitted at any time on that section of road. Yellow no stopping means exactly that, not even briefly. Move on and find a legal spot. Let's continue. What does a yellow no parking line mean in New Zealand? No parking, but stopping briefly to drop off or pick up is allowed. The distinction matters. You can stop momentarily, but you cannot leave the vehicle parked there. Next point. How close to a fire hydrant or fire plug is parking prohibited in New Zealand? Within 6 meters. Firefighters need immediate access to hydrants in an emergency. Keep that 6-meter clearance at all times. Let's move on. How close to an intersection is parking prohibited in New Zealand? Within 6 meters of an intersection, unless a different distance is marked. Parking too close to a corner blocks sight lines for drivers and pedestrians alike. Keep the corner clear. Continuing. What is the rule when an emergency vehicle with lights and sirens is approaching? Pull over to the left and stop if possible to let it pass. Clear the path immediately and stay stopped until the emergency vehicle has passed completely. Next question. What does a diamond-shaped sign mean in New Zealand? A warning of a hazard or change in road conditions ahead. Diamond means something important is coming. Reduce speed and prepare for whatever the sign describes. Let's keep going. What does a circular sign with a red border mean in New Zealand? A prohibition or restriction that must be obeyed. Red border circle means a rule you must follow. No entry, speed limits, no overtaking, all use this shape. Next point. What is the give way rule for vehicles entering a roundabout in New Zealand? Give way to all vehicles already in the roundabout. Vehicles inside the roundabout always have priority. Enter only when there is a safe gap. Let's continue. What are the road marking rules for a flush median in New Zealand? Flush medians can be used briefly to turn right or to merge, but drivers must give way to all other vehicles. A flush median is not a travel lane. Use it only for its intended purpose and give way to everything. Next question. What does a broken yellow center line mean on a New Zealand road? Overtaking is permitted if it is safe and legal. A broken line gives you permission to overtake, but only if conditions are safe and visibility is clear. Let's move on. What is the rule on using hazard lights while driving in New Zealand? Hazard lights should only be used when the vehicle is stationary and creating a hazard, not as a thank you signal. Hazard lights while moving confuse other drivers. Use them only when stopped and posing a risk to traffic. Continuing. What is the New Zealand rule on driving when fatigued? It is illegal and dangerous to drive while impaired by fatigue. Drivers should stop and rest. Fatigue impairs reaction time and judgment just like alcohol. Pull over, rest, and do not continue until alert. Next point. What must a driver do if they have a medical condition that affects their ability to drive safely? Report it to Waka Kotahi, as it may affect their license. Your obligation to drive safely includes being honest about your health. Report conditions that could affect your ability. Let's keep going. What is the penalty for exceeding the speed limit by more than 50 km per hour in New Zealand? Immediate 28-day vehicle impoundment and license suspension. 50 over is treated as an extreme offense. The penalties are immediate and severe. No warnings, no second chances. Next question. What is the demerit point threshold that triggers a 3-month license suspension in New Zealand? 100 demerit points within 2 years. Every offense adds points. At 100 within 2 years, your license is suspended for 3 months automatically. That's all for today. Study